Hey, everybody, welcome. See, we got James Kirkpatrick, LG Bass, Nick. How you doing, Nick? Sogo, Jason Lamb. We'll give people a chance to get in here, guys. I didn't even get set up in my studio or nothing. I just got home from work. Uh, for those that don't know, that hadn't seen me around in a while, that's what's going on. Uh, I'm putting in a lot of hours. Hey, Big Mike. And haven't been able to be on my YouTube as much because I'm working all the time. But hopefully that'll change and I'll start to get out and outdoors with Big Matt. Welcome, guys. Local 336. Rondell Perry, welcome. Lisabella Kirkpatrick, welcome. We'll give everybody a chance to get in. And there's Larry, 3+1. All right, Jason. I figured tonight we'd go over some stuff. I hear people talking all the time about how they fish the same places and they're not catching fish. So I'm kind of going to share out some information and try and help y'all have better success and maximize your time on the water because, as all of y'all know, there's a big difference between catching fish and just fishing. Hey, Steve Austin, welcome. Hey, Aaron. Looks like people starting to pop in. Good to see you in here, Aaron. I haven't seen you around in a while. Fishing in freedom. Hey. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get this thing rolling, get started. There's Art 1 ton. Hey, Art. Guys, you gotta make goals for yourself. You gotta focus yourself uh, for the fish you're going after. Are you going after eater fish, or are you going after uh, the monster fish? What are you looking for? Uh, that's going to determine a lot. Uh, and you hear people say, I've been fishing the same place for 5 years. I catch one or two. Guys, if you're fishing a place like that and you fish that long and you're only catching one or two, you're fishing the wrong area. A common misconception is people are like, man, there's water here, there has to be fish here. That's not true. Your lakes, your rivers, your creeks, they all have spots that we refer to as dead water. Uh, the fish are not there. It's not their habitat. It's not where they prefer to stay. And you can fish there all you want, and you're not going to have very good success. So you got to start knowing what to look for and areas that do hold fish. Because not all areas do. Uh, you know, me personally, uh, like your reservoirs and stuff. Uh, this time of year, it's hot. Hey, Mike Sampy, welcome. This time of year, it's hot. So night fishing is good. Early morning till about 10 o'clock. Uh, but you have to be out there early. And you want to look for certain areas. In these reservoirs and stuff, if you locate deep channels, that are near, because the fish, they'll go deep during the and come out at night and feed. So, if you can find an area that has deep water next to shallow water, you're going to find more fish there. If you can find areas like that where the channel has structure, hey, Ram Diaz, welcome. If there is stumps or rocks, not just ledges, but actual hard structure, you'll notice that the fish tend to congregate around these areas. And that will help you be more productive, catch more fish instead of just fishing. You have to know the fish's pattern and what they're doing. Uh, if you want to maximize your time and be more efficient, if you know they're in the deep holes during the day and you know they're coming up to this shallow area to feed, one thing you can do is stage up on the travel areas. If you know where they are and you know where they're going to be, you can set up in between there and you can catch fish coming and going. Because fish will move. People think fish stay in the same place uh, all the time, and they don't. Hey, Brian B., welcome. Fish will move. They're not always in deep water, they're not always in shallow water. So you got to be prepared and be able to adapt and move with the fish. Uh, you know, uh, if you know they're in deep water and they're going to be in that deep water for a while, it does no good to be up shallow fishing. Look for areas with a boat. It makes it a lot easier. But from the bank, you have to know uh, what your lake's like. Hey, Valerie, you have to know the water you're fishing, what the contours are, where the deep water is, where the shallow water is, your structure, creek channels, ledges, drop offs. Stuff like that is very key uh, to your success. Hey, Kelly Bullock, welcome. Uh, so look for things and plan before you go. When you leave the yes, Navy Onyx is awesome, Big Mike. When you leave the house, have a plan. Uh, don't just go out and say, "Well, I'm just going to try wherever." That is not a productive way. Uh, you know the weather conditions, uh, what time of day you're going, so plan ahead. Uh, and that's another thing, guys. You can pattern these fish. If you're fishing 30 foot of water with some rocks or some stump and you're catching fish there, okay, once you pattern them fish and you know that's what they're holding to is the rocks in 30 foot of water, you can go and you can, once you fish there and the fish bite slows down, you can find other areas that are similar to this, and you'll figure out that these areas on the bodies of water, whether it be a reservoir or a river or a creek, the fish will congregate in these same types of areas. Uh, so keep that in mind. And guys, if you're not catching fish in that area, don't be afraid to move and look for different areas, look for different things. Hey, Matt, want to be outdoors? Fish change. Sometimes they'll prefer the stumps, the trees. Sometimes they'll prefer the rocks. You've got to pay attention to what the fish are doing, where they're located at, their holding patterns. Because if you know where they're holding up during the day and where they're feeding at night, at some point in time, you're going to be able to get on those fish and start catching. And, guys, that's our whole goal. When we go out to fish. We actually want to catch fish. It's not just to sit there. So do your homework and try and make a game plan. Game plans don't always work. Fish's attitudes can change from day to day and during the course of the day. You have to pay attention to what's going on. Uh, Another thing, uh, with these reservoirs and stuff, they're usually fed by a creek, a river. There's some sort of water source coming into these reservoirs. Uh, Now, these are not always productive, but guys, anytime there's fresh water coming in at these creeks or these rivers or whatever, and you have running water dumping into a reservoir that normally has no current, it creates a current in that lake. And catfish are current oriented. Even if they're living their life in a lake that normally has no current, when that current does come and the creeks rise, you got fresh water coming in from the creek or the river, that channel goes through that reservoir, even though you cannot see it. And when it starts dumping that fresh water in there, it creates a current, and fish will travel for miles to get to that current where it's coming in. Uh, Highly oxygenated water and bait. Yes, Mike, that is a good point. But uh, not only do the fish travel to these creeks and these lakes and these in these reservoirs and stuff when the fresh water's coming in, uh, anytime there's moving water like that and you have that flow, the fish it's natural to them. They are going to be attracted to it. Uh, some people think it's because the fresh water creates oxygen, but I think the biggest deal is a lot of the times, hey, Chrissy Brown, welcome. A lot of the times when these creeks and stuff are come up and running, everything that was on the bank of that creek or that river is getting pushed into that reservoir. There's tons of food that is now available, and these fish will stage in that area because it's a free meal. Uh, hey, Fishing the Dock, welcome. Catfish are opportunistic. They feed on opportunity. If it's there, they're going to eat it. And they will take the easiest meal they can get. Uh, so keep that in mind. Anytime you have water running in to an area, uh, like a reservoir that normally does not have current, those fish will come to that current. So target areas like that. Uh, yeah, you're exactly right, Matt. It does create fresh and sometimes new food, and usually there's a lot of it. Uh, and those fish know that. They know there's a free meal there. Catfish are very opportunistic. They're also ambush predators. They're not going to go out and hunt if they can sit there and let the food come to them. They will sit there and gorge themselves. So pay attention to areas like that. Most of your reservoirs and your rivers and stuff, you can get maps for them. Check these maps out. As mentioned before, Navionics. Navionics has a lot of great information on it. You can look for. So pay attention to this stuff, guys, and do your homework before you go. The more Sorry, guys. My internet crashed for some reason. Wi-Fi had to fire up. Uh, but like I was saying, that doesn't mean it's going to be the best. If you're just wanting to put fish uh, in the boat or on the bank, man, it's choppy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Is that better, guys? Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with this stupid internet. But like I was saying, there's lots of different baits that will catch fish. Uh, but you know, your live baits that are native to your waters, if you're after trophy fish, are always going to be your best bet. Uh, like I say, the chicken works. There's punch baits out there. There's all kinds of baits, night crawlers, uh, hot dogs. There's several different things you can use that will actually catch fish if you're just wanting to put fish in the boat or on the bank and catch numbers. If you're not concerned with size, uh, that's a lot better. Uh, but if you're going after size and trophy catfish, I would say use baits that are native to your water. Uh, Creek chubs, I see that. Yeah, not just that. I've seen people use the suckers. I hear them talk about moon eye. There's lots of different baits in different areas. Down here, you'll see people use bluegill, goldfish, crawdads, just about anything. The punch baits, like Danny King's punch bait, dip baits, uh, garlic hot dogs. There's people fish with all kinds of stuff. You just have to suit your bait for what your goals are. Uh, And that's another thing, guys. If you're wanting to catch trophy fish, don't spend all your time in small fish water. Your bigger fish will only inhabit certain areas. Uh, they're not going to be in a lot of the places your smaller fish are. Uh, Down here, I don't have the moon eye. I don't have the creek chubs. I don't have skipjack. Uh, you know, Down here, it's bluegill, it's gizzard shad that are native. You can catch carp. Carp works well. Uh, I never used it. I'm wanting to catch some carp and try it for bait down here. I do know they do catch fish, but I never even thought about carp till I was watching Mark and Haz and Chunky and them, and you know, uh, it does work. But tailor your bait for what you're going after, guys, and don't just go out with one kind of bait. If you just go out with one kind of bait, you are limiting yourself. Uh, Fish are just like people, guys. You don't want to eat pizza every day. You want a variety, and if you go out there with just the one bait, and it may have been the bait they were hitting yesterday, say it's gizzard shad, You go out there with gizzard shad and they're biting it good. You go out there the next day, gizzard shad may not be what they're hitting. They may be hitting bluegill or skipjack or anything like that. Uh, but I would stay away from the baits like chicken and hot dogs and liver and stuff like that if you're wanting to catch trophy fish. I'm not saying big fish can't be caught on them, but your your chances of catching big fish on those baits are dramatically reduced. Uh, Same thing with your reservoirs and your rivers. Your rivers tend to have a bigger population of larger fish than your reservoirs because, especially down here, because a lot of people down here do not do the catch and release. So once you take that genetics and that big fish out of that reservoir, uh, there's no way to replenish it other than the breeding in that body of water. So, you know, remember that when you go, guys. If you catch a 60 pounder in a reservoir and you're thinking about taking it out, just know that once you pull those genetics out, it's going to be years probably before you catch more fish of that quality. How long should you use and reuse cut bait? Thawed out, then refreeze. Local 336, I do not like freezing bait. I like fresh. I will use frozen uh, if that's all there is. But usually, once you thaw it out and refreeze it more than once, it'll start getting soft. And then it kind of defeats the purpose because that fish can just barely peck at it and they'll take it off the bank. And they'll sit there and suck your bait off. I'm assuming you could eat pizza all the time, LG. Huh? Hey, Hilljack. Guys, I'd like to say welcome to everybody I missed when I was out. I didn't skip anybody on purpose. But guys, bait is a big key. You've got to pay attention to bait and use your bait to target what you're after. Guys, if you're just wanting to go out and catch numbers of fish and you're not really worried about size, you can catch them on any of those baits. Catfish are opportunistic. If they are hungry and you put something in front of them, they're going to bite it. You have to freeze your bait because you travel to get it. Yeah. Uh, Bait is key. And I'm not saying that, if you're close to somewhere that has skipjack or something, and skipjack is not native in your body of water that you're particularly fishing, I'm not saying it won't catch fish. Skipjack is very oily, it's a bloody bait, and, it's not saying it will not catch fish. So don't be afraid to try it. But, down here, it's not readily available to me. If I had skipjack down here, I would definitely fish with it. The moon eye. I hear people talking about the moon eye or the golden eye, and they're like it's catfish candy. We don't have them down there where I'm at, but I do know they work. I've seen people catch them on them. Suckers. I see people using suckers, and I'm not saying any of this is a bad bait. The carp. It works, guys, and it works in certain areas. Uh, that's just like if I had it and I had these baits available down here, I would try them. But these fish, you know, where I'm fishing, these fish have never seen a skipjack. They've never seen a creek chub. It's bluegill, gizzard shad, bullheads. goldfish, bait like that. And the goldfish is not so much in your lakes that they can be effective as much as the creeks. Uh, I've seen people do really good on goldfish in the creeks. Uh, so that's something to pay attention to, guys. Your bait and location. Location is key. When you go out to fish, guys, don't just go out there to be out there. Try and learn something. Uh, if you're not learning while you're out there, it's always going to be a struggle. Uh, you've got to pay attention to what's going on around you. When you catch fish, why did you catch fish? Where were you at? What's the water depth? Is there cover? Is there structure around there? Why are the fish there? You've got to pattern these fish. Uh, just like knowing whether they're deep, whether they're shallow, what times they're at. Uh, because they will be there. Know where the fish are traveling. Eliminate a lot of that dead water. Because every body of water, guys, every single body of water, I don't care if it's a river, a creek, a reservoir, a pond, there will always be dead water spots. It's spots that the fish don't stay. And you'll also have areas, guys, that are travel corridors going from where they're at during the day to their feeding ground, and they will move back and forth. Uh, these travel corridors, if you know where the fish are traveling at, you can get set on them and you can catch fish going both directions. Because even though that fish is done feeding and he's deciding he's going to move out and go back out to his hole or his home, if there is bait in front of his face as he's leaving, uh, even though he's not hungry, a lot of times they will still bite it. Uh, so pay attention to this kind of stuff. And if you know where they're at in the deep water and the channels with the cover structure, and you know where they're going to be at and where they're going to feed at, they've got to get there somehow, guys. So search for the travel corridors. If there's any kind of a pinch point that narrows everything down, uh, definitely spend some time and fish there. And guys, if you fish a spot and you go 3 or 4 times and you're not catching any fish there, don't just kick that spot to the side. Those fish may not be there right now, but that does not mean that at a later time in the year that those fish will not be there, because fish do move and they do stage in different areas according to the weather. The seasons have a lot to do with it. Hey, Dan, just caught a 3.87 pound flathead. A lot of the spots that I fish, guys, most people will not fish because you get snagged up a lot. Uh, a lot of these areas people overlook. Uh, exactly, Dan. It may not be big, but it's a flathead. Any flathead is a good flathead. I love to catch the flathead. But a lot of these spots that most people will not fish, they don't see that fishing pressure. And a lot of your bigger fish will hide back in these areas. Uh, all right, Nick. Good night. Uh, so don't be afraid to fish different areas. Look for places that other people do not fish. Uh, to me, that's a plus. Uh, everybody and their dog, if they fish a certain spot, uh, your fish are going to be fished out. They're getting jerked in and out. Uh, hey, John Patrick Jr., welcome. Uh, so look for spots away off the beaten path, spots most people would not fish. Uh, in a boat, guys, you got depth finders. I know a lot of guys like their depth finders and they locate fish. They'll see them on the graph before they ever uh, throw their lines in and fish. Hey, Lee Evans, welcome. Uh, but from the bank, guys don't have that advantage. So you got to rely on knowledge and put your time in. So, guys, don't be afraid to try different areas. Don't be afraid to go back to an area that you fished and didn't catch fish in. But if you're fishing the same areas and you're not catching fish, look for something different. Don't keep doing the same thing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If what you're doing is not working, try something different. Uh, Guys, sometimes just making a different rig, a setup, will make the difference. Sometimes you can catch them on the Carolina rig. Sometimes it's a Santee rig. Sometimes it's a dropper rig. Uh, Not one particular rig produces fish constantly and is the best out there. You have to be willing to try different things. Uh, Downsizing your baits, using bigger baits at times. The double hook Kentucky rig for one. Guys, the more you have in your arsenal, the better you're going to be. Hey, fishing frustrations. So the more knowledge and the more you can get out there and the more you can adapt and change things up, the more successful you're going to be. Uh, so, hey, Has, welcome. Keep that in mind. And rivers and creeks, guys, the fish like the same thing. You look for your current, look for log jams, look for rock piles, jetties that come out into the water, points, anything that breaks that water or breaks that current, makes a current break, sunken barges, stuff like that. Any areas like that are great for your catfish. They are ambush predators. And, you know, you hear that saying, work smarter, not harder. Well, fish do the same thing. When they feed, they're going to try and do it as easily as possible. Uh, Especially like now, with the weather being so hot and the temperatures high, the fish are like people. When it's hot, they really don't want to move a lot. They're going to conserve their energy and stuff to where they do not have to feed as much. All right, Aaron, later. Be careful. So they're going to conserve that energy. Guys, and if you're going after trophy fish and you're fishing for big fish, remember this too. A lot of your big fish, they may only eat once every 3 to 4 days. So, you know, 3 to 4 days, if you're just going out there and you try a spot one time and you don't catch anything, you can't say, well, there's no fish there. Uh, you got to be patient. You got to put your time in uh, and pay attention to what's going on around you. Every time you should go out, guys, when you catch a fish or you don't catch a fish, you should take notes. Why are the fish here or why are the fish not here? What time of year is it? What's the weather condition? Uh, Tyrone Biggins, he is in here. No, Lee Evans, I have not seen him. But guys, you got to be aware. Don't be afraid to adapt, to change things up, and move, change spots. Uh, but like I say, if you want to be more productive, this time of year, like I say, I know they're in deep water during the day. If you can find deep channels, especially if they got structure, uh, trees, rocks, anything like that, uh, 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Yeah, LG. Sometimes the early morning bite after midnight. Uh, Sometimes it's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock can be that magic hour. But if you're not out there and you're not trying, you're definitely not going to catch them. But like this time of year, I know they're in the deep water during the day, and at night they'll come up shallow. So I want to be depending on what time of day I'm out there. If I go early, I want to be out there in the deep water. If I go later, I want to be between the deep water and the shallow water because I know they're going to be transitioning. You have that travel corridor, uh, and you can catch them there. As it gets later in the evening, they're going to be up in the shallows and they're going to be up there feeding. So you're going to have to go shallow to get them. Know where the fish are at, follow them, listen to what they're telling you. Once the bite stops up shallow and then fish are done feeding and they're starting to move back out as it breaks day and it's getting daylight. Hey, Tina, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to adjust. Follow those fish. Uh, with the boat, it's easier. Bank fishing, not so much. So, guys, if you're bank fishing, it's very critical to know where the fish are at what time of the day. Because if you can only go out there and fish a certain amount of time, uh, later, Matt, you have to be able to fish where the fish are. Uh, Bank fishing is a little tougher because you're trying to make the fish come to you. With the boat, you can go to the fish, but you can still catch them. It's a very effective way. I don't remember the last time I've even actually been in a boat and went fishing. Hey, Donald, I plan on getting another one, but I'm still going to do my bank fishing. I love my bank fishing. So, guys, pay attention to what's around, what's going on, and it's going to help you in the long run. You're going to start catching more fish. Uh, just like baits, a variety of baits. When you go out there, pay attention to what baits you're catching the fish on. Uh, you may have 4 different baits out, but all your fish are coming off of one bite, off of one bait. If that's the case, don't leave them other 3 rods or 2 rods or however many you got out sitting there with the old bait on it. If they're biting skipjack, put the skipjack on. If they're biting the bluegill, don't be afraid to put bluegill on all of them. Maximize your opportunities, guys. That's what it's all about. Because I know y'all, when I go fishing, I don't go to just sit there. I want to catch fish. If I'm not catching fish, I'm trying to figure out why. Where are the fish at? Why are they not here? What's going on? It's a puzzle, and I'm constantly trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Uh, Sometimes it works, guys, and sometimes it don't. You may be out there all day and not catch anything. And it may take you 4 or 5 hours to catch your first fish. But once you start catching them, start to pattern them, learn where they're at. If you're catching them in the creek channels, uh, look for more creek channels. Don't waste your time where the fish are not at. You got to be where the fish are. That's key, guys. It doesn't matter bait, boat, or whatever. You have to be where the fish are. And don't be afraid to experiment, guys. Uh, if you go out there and you're not getting any bites, try different things, try different rigs, try different baits, different water depths, different areas. Like me, when I go, I fish with 4 rods. None of my rods are in the same location. I'll take my rods out and I'll throw them out different depths, different areas, in clearings, in the stumps, in the brush, in the rocks. And basically, what I'm doing, I'm spreading that out and I'm covering as much ground as I can to try and pinpoint these fish and figure out where they're at and what they're feeding on. The past month, all my flathead have been on live green sunfish. All my channels and blues on skipjack. Yeah, I wish we had skipjack down here, and I'm going to have to get with the biologist and see if the skipjack would survive in our waters. And because if they would, I would love to get them introduced down here uh, just for the bait purposes. Uh, you know, but I plan on doing some traveling. I want to get out, uh, spend some time going to different states, different bodies of water, to where I can even try different baits. Skipjack, Tennessee River. I see a lot of guys using it up there. I would have a blast going out and just catching the skipjack for bait. I see them out there with the Foley spoons and sabiki rigs, and man, catching bait could be a blast. Uh, but I know there are areas that have stores now, like Bama Bait and stuff, that sells the skipjack, but I'm not sure how it would last trying to ship it. It's stuff I'm looking into because I would definitely love to try different things, uh, like the red horse suckers, the moon eye, anything like that. Uh, you know, I guarantee you, if it's an oily, bloody bait, the fish will bite it. All right, Valerie, good night. Uh, and I love to fish. Degabound, where are you at? But I definitely want to go try different things. I like fishing different bodies of water, guys. Uh, don't be afraid to try different bodies, different areas. Uh, you know, sometimes it's more productive. Uh, look for different things. And once you pattern the fish, guys, and you learn how to pattern them, you learn where they're normally at. You can usually go to different bodies of water in different states, and you're still going to get on the fish because you're looking for the same thing. Uh, you know, pay attention to your structure, your creek mouth, current, water coming in, uh, high water, low water. There's lots of different variables that have to come together. Hey, Justin's Fishing Fetish, North Central Alabama. Yeah, Degabound. I had the opportunity uh, many years ago. Uh, had some family in Florence, Alabama, and went up there, and they took us out to the Tennessee River and below the Wheeler Dam, and that was insane. It was amazing to see, and man, the fishing by that dam. You have to keep your boat running because they got these big turbines, and when they sound that alarm, you better get out of there. But the fishing right there is phenomenal. We went out there, and you could go out fishing right where that swift water meets the calm water. I bet it wouldn't drop 6 inches, and they would hammer that bait. And in 2 hours, we caught so many fish, we got tired and gave up and left. It is very insane action there. Uh, but I definitely want to try some different areas, different water. Hey, Chris, hooks and hammocks. There's a lot of great fisheries out there. Uh, Kerr Reservoir, Art One Ton, and the fishing club fish there. Where LG and Aaron are fishing is good fishing. The James River, the Potomac. There's lots of areas with good fish. Lake Wheeler in Alabama, it's coming back. Santee Cooper Reservoir is on the rise. It's coming alive again. Uh, CPR has really helped, guys. Hey, trophy seekers, a lot of these bodies of waters where the trophy fish population was down, thanks to CPR and stuff, you're starting to see these reservoirs and lakes and stuff come back. So CPR does work. It's not really popular down here where I'm at. I'm trying to get it to catch on because, I mean, the more you can get it out there and the more people that do it, the better the fishing is going to be. Hey, Central Valley. And it's a resource, guys. It's an expendable resource. You can overfish any body of water. I don't care how big it is. If you go out there and you're keeping everything you're catching, and so is everybody else going out there, you can overfish a body of water. And once that happens, it takes years to recover. Uh, a lot of places never do because once you take all the big fish out, you removed all that breeding stock, you're left with just the genetics and the DNA of the smaller fish. So then you have to bring, hey, Miss Becca, you have to bring a different genetics into that body of water to bring it back to life, to get the bigger genetics spread back into the fish. And this is true with any species of fish, guys. Crappie, catfish, bluegill, anything, bass, even. If you take the genetics out of the water, you're going to start eventually seeing where all your fish are the same size. And that's not what we're after. Lake Superior even got overfished in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Yeah, I mean, guys, it happens. So you got to be aware of that. Uh, let's be responsible. Let's try and protect this sport so that others can do it. Uh, you know, guys, don't get discouraged when you go out fishing. If you're not successful, do not get discouraged. If you keep putting time in, you keep trying different baits, different tactics, different areas, you are going to get on the fish. Just remember to learn from it. Even your failures can teach you things. You know, you go out and you're like, man, I got skunked. I didn't catch any fish. You learned areas the fish were not at. Uh, you know, so always try and gain information and knowledge from every trip out. Uh, I'm hoping I'm going to get caught up at work to where my schedule slows down a little bit to where I can get some weekends off. I'm ready to get back out on the water and do some fishing. I haven't been able to go in a long time. Uh, so hopefully I can get things lined out. I'm working insane hours, guys. So if y'all haven't seen me in a lot of the live streams, uh, that's what's been happening. Squirrels magnet fishing. Welcome. Hey, Dale. Uh, I haven't gave up. I haven't forgotten about anybody. I just been working insane amount of hours. Uh, very understaffed and very, very busy. And sometimes I'm running 3 and 4 machines at a time just trying to keep pace. Uh, but I have not forgotten anybody. I'm not giving up on fishing, guys. I'm not just going to do the talk show. Uh, I will get back out and start doing more lives. Uh, I'm trying to get everything pulled together. Uh, I definitely want to get together with a lot of people and start doing some traveling and go fish different bodies of water, different areas, and meet people. Uh, I know the CatCon event in KC is coming up, and it's coming up in November, I believe. I'm looking forward to going to that. There's another one, the one they have in Louisville, Kentucky. I believe it's going to be in February. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to meeting people. And guys, if I'm going to go, I'm going to bring Come fish the Tennessee River with me, CBC. Trophy seekers, man, I would love to. I would love to get up there and fish that Tennessee River. I would love to be out and catch skipjack and go fishing. And man, I know there are some tanks on that Tennessee River, and lots of them. So to me, you know, that's like a fishing trip of a lifetime for me. I love to get down there, catch them big fish. Not just that, guys. Enjoy the scenery when you're out. Uh, just look at the countryside. Uh, it's beautiful. Uh, all you need is a license. Yeah, I definitely want to come. If I can get my work schedule done and get to where I can get some time off, uh, start burning some vacation. Uh, like this year coming up, I'll have 4 weeks vacation, and I need to get to where I can use it and start doing some more fishing. Uh, I'd like to fish the James River. I'd like to fish the Potomac River. Guys, I love to fish. Hey, Amy Payne, welcome. Uh, and these bodies of waters like this, it's a learning experience for me. My wife always asked, why are you watching so much YouTube? Back when I had a chance to watch and I wasn't working so much, because I was learning from you guys by watching. When I watch your live streams and your videos and stuff, I'm not just in there watching for no reason. I'm learning, I'm picking up information. Uh, that way, when I get a chance to get on that body of water, I'm already going to have some knowledge about it. Guys, just because people are not fishing the same bodies of water you are, hey, real time catfishing, welcome, does not mean you cannot learn from them. Uh, I watch guys in the UK fish, and they're fishing for complete different species of fish, but there's rigs and techniques that they use that may be effective here. So I always watch it. I pay attention. Uh, that's the biggest deal, guys. If you're not learning and you're not moving forward in anything in life, you're falling behind, especially fishing. So much has changed just in the last 5 years alone, guys. Look at all the tackle, the different rigs. You know, look at all the different choices you have in hooks, sinker, line, rods. It's phenomenal. It can be overwhelming. Uh, so don't let it get you overwhelmed. Uh, Guys, is there anybody in here while we're still live that has any specific questions they would like to ask? I'm not against answering questions, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. Hey, Epic Catfish, Tim Scott, how's it going? That's another person I would love to go fishing with. Tim Scott. I'd love to fish with him. I don't know, Epic. Every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, I go live. Uh, my notifications don't work half the time either. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing or what's going on, but it definitely happens. Uh, Guys, Epic's been getting out. I don't know if y'all guys have been able to catch him. He's been doing a lot of fishing here lately. It's good to see him and Sean back out going at them, and it's a blast. Uh, Kind of had a scary moment the other night with that big tree that come down. Could have took out the boat. That was a big log. Uh, but hey, Mr. Duggar, welcome. Uh, guys, don't be afraid to watch other people, to listen to them, try and gain knowledge from them. Any bit of knowledge you get will help. Every little bit counts. So always learn from every experience, uh, good or bad. You know, how many times, guys, have y'all been out there and you've got a fish and, he just slowly pulling the rod, and, you get a little excited and you try and put pressure on him, end up pulling the bait out of his mouth. Guys, that's not just a failure, that's a learning experience. That's something you should learn from. You should tell yourself, man, next time I need to feed them more line. I need to do something different. Anytime you lose a hook, uh, a fish comes unhooked, you break the line off. There's always a reason for something. Hey, Carmel. Uh, but always try and learn from it. I learned to fish for big catfish from YouTube without a doubt. Yeah, trophy seekers, you can learn a lot by watching these shows. Uh, wow, CBA. No catfish in a year and a half. I'm beginning to think we have no more catfish. Uh, I would definitely look for different areas. Uh, if you haven't caught a catfish in a year and a half, uh, you're either fishing dead water or you're fishing spots that do not have catfish. And guys, there are a lot of areas that don't have catfish. They don't have all the species. Some places only have channels. They don't have blues and flats. Some people have blues and no channels and no flats. You got to know what's in your waters, what's in your area, what's available. Uh, you've been everywhere. Maybe it's not the body of water you're fishing, CBA. Maybe it's the areas. What are you targeting? Because, you know, fish move. They move all the time, especially seasonal patterns. They change. You've got to know where they're at, which waters are productive, which waters are dead, where they're at during the day, where they're feeding at, their travel corridors. Because, guys, we got channels and bulls. Yep. Uh, Man, in some places up north, guys, they got some big channel cat. I know Mark and all them went to Mendota. I plan on making a trip to Mendota. I want to go up there and catch some of them uh, big channel cat uh, up there. Epic Tim Scott. I know they have some big channel cats up there where he fishes. Uh, okay, let me know when you're ready, Epic. Sorry, guys. I want to shoot Epic a link. Tim, whenever you're ready, I went ahead and I'll share the link out. This is always a great time, guys. I know we've been live for over an hour, but that's okay. Uh, anytime I get a chance to talk with Tim, uh, I will take it. There he is. How you doing?
Hey, my friend CBC, Country Boy Catfishing. This is an honor. Thank you very much for having me up here.
Man, I'm
I'll
honored
try.
to have you
Try
on.
not to waste a bunch of time. So my question is, if I know you were in the live the other night when
Yes.
we've got a down rod in active catfish waters, but yet I've got a 30-pound fish that is basically dink tapping this thing. And unfortunately, it wasn't on screen when it happened.
Yeah.
It actually happened twice. There was a 20 something, if I can remember, and then there was a 30 something. So I've got, it's not even a big bait. It's, maybe the size, maybe a little bit bigger than a golf ball.
Yeah.
So my question, and that's been happening on rivers for me my entire life. And, a lot of people are like, well, if it's just dink tapping, it's just a little fish. And I've tried to basically describe this situation, and I feel like I'm all by myself when I say that you can have big fish that just dink tap stuff, and then you have to do special things. And if anybody noticed, I don't know if they noticed, but what I did in a down rod, just for people that don't know, it's basically a suspended bait directly underneath the boat with a heavy weight at the very bottom. It's up about a foot and a half, and so really the only pressure they have is that rod. They're not even
Yeah.
they're not even dealing with that sinker. And so he goes up there and he dink taps it, and then leaves it a little bit and dink taps it a little bit. So then I go and put my hand on that rod and push that down about a foot and a half to where there's more slack in it, and he can
Yeah.
move back. So, and a lot of people say that blue cats don't really do that. Channel cats do it all the time. And everybody that's caught channel cats knows that tap, 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 you got to kind of feed them a little bit. And a lot of times that'll help. My question is, and so I was able to hook up with 2 fish that night
Yep.
live. Finally, I could demonstrate that. But how much, and I'm sure you do, but I'd like to hear you talk about your experience on lakes, because lakes, it seems that when they're moving and hungry, they're going to take it down. But on lakes too, if you get those weird weather patterns or whatever, you can get big fish dink
Exactly.
tapping too. So I'd
Yes.
love to hear your take on that.
And it's not just the channels. The blues will do it
Yes.
and the flatheads will do it. You'll
Mm.
have times when they are so finicky.
Yes.
Any pressure, when they take the bait, as soon as they touch that bait, if they feel any resistance at all, boop, they'll drop it.
Yep.
Just the slightest, and it may only be you may only have 2 ounces of lead on there, and it could be an egg sinker or a no roll to where the line slides through it, but any little bit of resistance and they'll drop it. What I try to tell people in situations like that, what I'll do is I'll disengage my reel and I'll pull some slack. I'll pull that slack
Okay.
out to try and give that fish. It's almost like it builds their confidence when they come back and they hit that bait
Yes.
again,
Yes.
and they start to move a little bit. When they don't feel that
Yeah.
resistance, it's like, okay, it's free, it's not snagged, I'm okay to go. And especially with the circle hooks, when you can feed them that slack like that, the old saying, give them enough rope to hang themselves. A
Yes,
lot of
and that's kind of why I brought this up, because I think a lot of people have a lot more success if they know, hey, look at that, there's actually light in here. So
yeah,
if they know that it's possibly a big fish and there's something they can do, and it's not 100%, it is 30, 40, 50, 55% accurate once you get good at it, and you
yeah,
can actually start to put some of those fish in the boat. And that's that's a success story right there when that happens. When people go from it's a dink or it's a gar to really realizing that big catfish
Yep.
will tap at stuff too and pull. If there's too much resistance, they may never get that hook and they'll just pull and you go, oh, I had a great takedown. It must have been a small
Yep.
fish. You didn't get it in there.
Yep.
But guys like you and everybody else that gets to fish a lot, we've seen that time and time again. You go, there's no gar here. This isn't little fish. It's actually big fish. And once I don't know. When I made that realization, it was pretty big for me. It was one of those V8 moments where I said, holy moly, there's actually something I can do.
A lot of people don't even give them the chance, especially if there's channel cat, because you know how bad channel cat are about pecking. So as soon as
and sometimes they're taking it down hard like blues.
Yep.
But in the post spawn, they are very pecky.
Yep. And a lot of people, as soon as they see that pecking or it's just pulling, and sometimes it won't even load the rod up hardly.
Yeah.
You'll just see it and it'll let go. They're like, man, it's little fish. It's a channel cat. It's just pecking. And they automatically assume that. But I have had big fish actually bite the bait and never move.
Yep.
They sat there with it in their mouth that whole time. And fish's attitude changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get fish in there and you'll have a 20-pounder like you did that 26. You had to feed them line to get them to take it.
Yep.
But man, you got out there and there was some 5, 6, 8-pound fish coming through there and they just load the rod up.
Yep.
And you're thinking,
about this one
why
too.
don't the big
Yep. Our first night, our biggest fish, all that rod did was go like this. Okay, so that wasn't because he was tapping. That was because he was going from downstream to upstream. And the only thing that we saw was that sinker tapping the bottom like this. And I had to reel down on that fish probably 20, 30, 40 feet before he was on. And what I'm thinking is, all of us river fishermen, and you're primarily a lake guy, all of us river fishermen are saying to ourselves, well, most of the time they just go downstream. But we caught it on a night that they were going from downstream, moving through this area, picking up baits and still going. Flatheads do it, channel cats do it, and blue cats do it. But blue cats a lot of times will grab a bait and go down, take the rod down. And, that's why everybody said, oh, look at that takedown. That's great. But what about those ones that come up this way and all of a sudden, because they're not really active, they're just moving, and then the bait kind of falls out of their mouth. And I was able to, and I even heard some comments from a couple of people say, well, Epic never sits down. He's always hawking those rods. And I said, I'm hawking those rods to myself. I said this, I'm hawking those rods because I need to know if they're going down, down, over, or up. I mean, I've literally had baits out that I didn't really even notice when I was younger. Didn't even notice there was a bite on them because I didn't pay attention. It's a dink, whatever. It's underneath the boat before I could even notice that there's anything really there, and I had to reel up. And sometimes I got them, sometimes I didn't. Jason Lamb, I have caught some big flatheads that I never knew they were on just checking my baits. Oh yeah. So, David, are you frozen because of my bad signal? Let me try to go out here on the porch. Uh-oh. It's not really any better. It's crazy how I have a better signal on the river than I do at my house.
I don't know what's going on, guys. For some reason, I don't know if it's the rain or what it is. It keeps knocking the internet out. It's wanting to drop. But Tim makes some great points. Yeah, I don't know what happens. It keeps kicking me off. I hate that. I'm gonna put that link back up again, Tim. I don't know what's going on. I haven't figured out if it's the internet or if it's StreamYard. It keeps giving me that message from StreamYard. If you're having trouble, please notify us. But Epic made a great point about when they see that pecking, people automatically saying it's a small fish, and that's not always true. I've seen them most of the time on the river.
Hey, I'm back. I guess
And I am not a river expert, but I know a lot of you. Hey, yeah, I think it was mine. StreamYard's been giving me problems. Hey, yeah. Muskrat, no problem, Roger. You guys that fish the rivers a lot, one thing I've noticed, a lot of times the bigger fish, for some reason, the bigger fish, they tend to run upriver. They'll head up, and even in the current. Do you find that to be?
David, I have a which I did say it on my live, but I have like kind of a little bit of a long-term secret that goes on with that. And the long-term secret is that one of the here, let me get some light on me because I'm like all the way in the dark. One of the big secrets is that a lot of these spots on rivers that hold big fish consistently not only have it has good current going here. I gotta do that, going away from the boat, but on the bottom it has current coming back up, and it's gentle flow. It's usually a third of what the river is, so it doesn't really move your baits much. So you throw your baits out, and maybe it's not in that backflow that it goes against the grain. So you've got current going this way away from your boat. It drops back, or it eddies back, and it comes along the bottom to the boat, because flatheads are not huge on like picking up baits and moving. They're usually pretty sedentary, so they'll boom, get a bait and then kind of back up. But if the current's opposite, they'll be under the boat in a heartbeat, because they've come there and now they're going downstream, which doesn't make for an exciting pull down, take down. It's not a smashing hit, but I've caught some of my biggest fish that way, that really didn't go away from the boat, that came underneath towards the boat. And you just got to be aware of that, because I've even tried to hold to in the interest of science, just not grab rods, not touch rods, see what's going to happen. And a lot of the ones that move towards you, that gets a big giant bow in the line, and then all of a sudden there's so much line pressure, they just spit it. And so I've found over the years, you got to get right on it. And it doesn't always work, but most of the time it does. I mean, holy moly, were you in there when Sean broke off that super monster on last night's live? I wish I wish you guys could have felt the power of what I felt. That's why I handed it to Sean, because it didn't show itself to be a monster. Well, it did, because it was a real slow takedown in super fast water. You get really fast water, anything under like 40, 50 pounds, it's pretty fast. especially in that straight line current, because I know there's no
Yep.
backflow there.
Yep.
And it did that. But then I was not surprised, but I was so looking forward to Sean being able to, reel that thing in, and it immediately got him into a snag. And I know where that snag was, and I'm kind of beating myself up over not anchoring out further because I marked fish on that tree. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to target that tree, and I probably should have known better. I probably should have stayed out in the current, angled away from it, but I angled towards it and threw out into the main.
That's a problem, though.
Uh-oh, frozen.
You always end up second guessing yourself on stuff like that, though, because if you were not where you were and did not have that bait right in front of that fish's face, he may have not even bit.
True.
I mean,
true.
a lot of times you can't get the fish to come to you. You have to take the bait to them.
Yep.
And it's a roll of the dice. And it's a gamble we all take. But moments like that, when them big fish get you snagged up.
Sorry, you froze again. But what I was going to say is I'm constantly working that whole thing over in my head from yesterday, because yesterday was different by far than the day before that. The day before that, we were on an active bite. The fish were moving. They were not real. I mean, some of them were moving, but it was down to a smaller percent of fish. We had to go after them, and we had to put it in front of their face. Whereas the first night, we basically marked fish in their general location, downstream of us, and figured out that we needed to basically ambush them like a deer hunter, because they weren't biting on their location. We had to wait until they became active, because if we tried to set up on them and just sat on them forever, who knows what's going to happen? They can move down, they can move over, they can move whatever. But we were hoping, and it worked.
Yep.
The second night, that wasn't happening hardly at all. So we had to start moving. And that kind of gets me to my second tier of this question for you, is that a lot of people that are fishing lakes on YouTube are very frustrated. Okay. And they're very frustrated because, and I hear the comments all the time, I've been out 5 days in a row, I've been out 3 days in a row, and they're really wanting to ask me, how do I locate big fish in lakes? And you know what the honest to God truth is? I quit fishing lakes 25 years ago. Once I got onto rivers, I said, lakes are tough. They are really tough. So that's what my question is to you, is that you fish lakes and you fish them consistently, and you put numbers and big fish to the bank, and you are constantly thinking about the wind and the weather and all of that stuff that goes through it. So you've really put more time into lake fishing than I've ever even thought about. So that's the rest of my second tier question.
A big thing on the lakes, I think the biggest hindrance for people on these lakes is the fish finder.
Okay.
Go and they got this fish finder, and they'll travel around, and if they see a fish on that fish finder, they will stay there for hours.
Okay.
Seen on the fish finder. Well, what they're fishing for is non-active feeding fish. These fish are not staged up at the top of the holes. They're not active. They're not feeding. They're laying there. They have no plan on feeding, and they waste all.
They're looking like the fish in Bass Pro Shops.
Yes, and they waste the majority of their time because they're like, well, I know there's fish here. I can see them. Just because the fish is there does not mean it's a feeding fish.
And David,
And
we've all
you
been there.
could camp.
I've sat on fish that
Yep.
I just hope would, and they just never turned on. And I'm like, what am I sitting on?
Yeah, you can't make them do it. I
No.
mean, you can't force them to bite.
No, you can't.
And, you know, and that's what kills a lot of these guys on these lakes where they get frustrated. Or coast fishing. They will fish the same areas because they caught a fish once there 15 years ago. And it may be August now, and they caught that fish in December, and they're still fishing the same spot every single day, chasing the ghost of the fish that they caught 15 years ago.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the anglers are getting smarter than they were. As far as a group effort, I think a lot of them are getting like I don't see as much of that as I used to see like in my 20s. I used to see a lot of guys say, "Hey, we caught a boatload of them here." And I was like, "Well, when?" "Well, July 4th, 1999, and it's 2005, and well, how many times did you do it? Did you do it consistently or effectively?" "Well, no, but whatever." And I said, "You got to change your mindset on that, just try and help people out." And but I agree, the fish finder can be a rough thing. It really can, because you're staring at these fish and you go, what is the deal here? You've even heard in our videos at the end, we usually talk about how the days have went, whether it's 1 day or a half a day or 3 days. We've been basically sitting on Catfish Mecca throwing in their face for 3 days, and finally we get and a lot of times by the time that happens, we didn't just catch 3 giant fish. Sometimes we caught 30, and we just happened to put in not necessarily even the best ones, but the ones that were the most exciting. So I mean, but that's what I'm saying is, as far as all that stuff, all that knowledge, and all the guys, the people that are in chat are great people, because not only are they having fun, but they're listening and learning and making decisions, and all that stuff. And there is no and the problem is there's no catch-all. There's no equation besides a general equation that can put you on big fish at all times. And then lakes, you throw that in and you remove one part of that 3-part equation, and it gets even tougher. And a lot of guys that fish lakes like yourself, you say you got to put the time in. You got to get out there. You got to, throw baits and throw this. And I would have to say that bait preparation is probably one of the most overlooked. Being prepared to go get the right bait, except for, well, and I don't know that it's not necessarily true on rivers and lakes, because I've heard a lot of you guys that are lake experts talk about, well, we need that 4-inch shad, or we need that 3-inch shad. We got to match the hatch. Chubs aren't cutting it. Bluegill aren't cutting it. Chicken isn't cutting it. And I got to, especially you got to have that shad that's available, and you got to throw it onto those flats when the wind's coming a certain direction. I mean, that's an equation and a half. But you're able to explain that to people, and my hat's off to you. That's great. All right, you're frozen again. And go, Dave. Oh,
well, and one of my theories on the bait, I don't really care about like the smaller shad and stuff. If I am fishing for bigger fish, I want a big chunk of bait. Fish are just like people, and I'm a fat boy. I'm not going to eat a bunch of popcorn chicken and little tiny pieces of shrimp if I can get a big old steak. I mean, if I could eat my all in one stop without having to go chase it around.
And I think that part is because I
especially
don't know
your bigger.
I don't know if they're cognizant enough to make
they're not going to waste for ambush predators.
Right. But I think they're going to take advantage of what's available at the time, because I have caught a lot of giant fish on small baits. So I don't know that it's necessarily that they're making a thoughtful choice. I think it's more of the fact that a big bait gives off more scent for a longer period of time, for one. I think it's easier for them to locate when they're active. And and it's a little bit of a confidence booster for me, actually, because, you know, if I'm throwing big baits and I'm getting 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 pound fish, that just makes it all the better. But then again, I'm kind of romantic. I like the Jaws song, and I like the this, and I love the fact that you got big baits and big weights and big whatever. But I'll tell you, I'm the first one to, if they're not showing me that they'll eat those big baits, I'm the first one to put them back in the cooler and start cutting stuff down. Because if they won't do it, or I'm getting short bites or whatever, and you know what, I know you're the same way, and I know a lot of these guys in here are the same way. Because you don't hear everybody just yell, "Oh, you got to have big baits and you got to have big weights," even though I promote it a lot. And I'm really happy to see that everybody uses their own choice. Look at that! I got the black fingers. I've been doing the furniture finishing and all that.
I know. Like, I'm all dirty still from work. I got home.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even get to the studio. I just.
Yeah, you know, I made that studio thing, and my signal's so bad down there, I can't even use it.
O'clock in the morning, and I'm gone by 4.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you paused there for a minute. All right,
bait David. Size. There you are.
Yeah,
I think
my signal's terrible. I'm gonna get off here, and I'm gonna listen to what you have to say, because I know your mind's I know your mind's going.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what you've got to say, because I keep like pausing on me, and I'm interested, especially about these lakes, because that has been one thing that a lot of people. I mean, there's very few real good lake experts as far as catfishing goes anywhere in the country. I mean, maybe there is, but I sure haven't met them.
They're a different animal for sure.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks to everybody. Thanks for having me on, David. And I will see you in chat.
Yeah. Guys, lakes, rivers, and creeks, you can find similarities, but you will find a lot of differences also. No two bodies of water are the same. You can get a general idea, and it gives you a starting point. It gives you somewhere to focus. The deal with the baits, guys, there's times the fish won't hit the big baits. You can downsize your baits. People might do the double hook Kentucky rig, and the fish will hit it with smaller pieces of bait. You know, it all depends on the mood of the fish. Yeah, Roger, I am a big bait fan. I always try and keep at least one rod out with the big bait on it. I'm diehard. Even if I'm catching fish on the other 3 rods on smaller bait, I will keep that one out, because I always know if something takes that one, it's going to be a good one. And, you know, but that being said, guys, if you're out there and you're throwing big baits and you're not getting any bites, don't be afraid to downsize your bait. There is a time of year where they don't hit the big baits. They want the smaller bait. So, you know, you got to pay attention to what the fish want. The fish will usually tell you. That's why I say it's very important to pay attention when you catch a fish. Where did you catch it? What was the water depth? What was the water temp? What's the water clarity? Why is the fish here? What's different from the last time when I wasn't catching fish? What bait am I using? What size? There's so many different variables you have to take into consideration to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Uh, you know, anybody can go out and, just go out, pick a spot, throw out, and eventually catch a fish. You've heard the saying, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while, but that's not what you want to do. That's not what I want to do. When I go out, I want to know I'm going to be able to find them fish and locate them. Uh, you know, in Tim's live the other night, someone mentioned you cannot get on fish all the time and catch the mother lode. But in our minds, if you do not leave the house telling yourself, man, I'm going to go get on the fish, I'm going to load the boat, or I'm going to slay them, then you got the wrong mentality. You should have confidence in your abilities and confidence in yourself to be able to find the fish. Hey, Eric Burnside. But you've got to have that confidence. Uh, Guys, I hate to do this. I've already been live for almost 2 hours. There's Sean. I got to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I still got to get in the shower. I ain't even cleaned up from work. I just got home. Bad as I hate to, I'm going to have to end this thing. But I do appreciate everybody coming in. I can't thank Tim Scott enough for coming in and chatting with us. I love when he drops his knowledge. I've been enjoying watching him and Sean. I'm finally getting some lives in, even if it's late in the evening. And I'll go in the bedroom and turn it on the TV. And that's how I go to sleep or try to go to sleep. And Tim will holler or something and it'll get me excited and I'll be awake. And the other night when that big log come down and about took out the side of the boat while they were hooked up with the fish. And I think me and several others were about asleep. And when Tim yelled, every one of us jumped up and got ready. And it was pretty comical. But guys, I appreciate everybody for coming in. I thank y'all guys. I will try and get more guest speakers lined out. I'm trying to get caught up at work, but like right now, I'm working 14 to 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. I'm trying to get some time off and get caught up. I'll be getting everything lined back out and get back on schedule. So thanks everybody. I appreciate y'all, and everybody be safe, and I'll catch up to y'all as soon as I can. Thanks everybody.